Hello guys, Robot One here, coming to you with a new Yu-Gi-Oh video, and in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video we're going to be doing a duel replay, kind of obviously, with me versus one of my teammates, Tom. I was playing Shaddoll, Invoked, Dogmatika, S.I.D for short, and he was playing his Unchained deck, and honestly, this was a really good match to play, because one, it got to show off what my deck could actually do, which is something I really wanted to kind of show off, and two, he got to show off his Unchained deck a bit, which is also a good thing as well, because his Unchained deck is sick, and he knows that deck in and out. So, guys, I'm gonna show you guys this replay, because this was actually a really fun duel to play against. We both had a lot of thought and plays into our interactions. And also, guys, one more thing before we do start this. I hope the volume of this video isn't a bit too low. I am messing with mic settings so it doesn't pick up fans and stuff, because I do have fans. It is really hot in this room of mine, and I want to make sure that you guys don't hear the fans, because if I didn't have them on, I'd be sweating like a pig. And also just dying in this room. But guys, let's go ahead and get into the video so you guys can see what this deck does, what my deck does, what his deck does, and we can go ahead and showcase this. So, play. Right, so I won the dice roll, so I am going first. I got the rock paper and he got the rock. So, we'll go ahead and draw 5 cards in our opening hand, and I go on the play. So, we go draw phase, and he says yo-yo, so we're going to just go ahead and play the hands as we can. We will click next play to kind of speed things up a bit. And I start off with an S.I.D the Invoker, which will go ahead and allow me to add invocation from my deck to my hand. And then we're going to go ahead and link off the S.I.D the Invoker, most likely. Yep, we go ahead and link it off, summon the Amirage, and then go into a Secure Gardener. We then go ahead and use the invocation, banishing the S.I.D and the Secure Gardener, which will allow us to go ahead and summon an Invoked Mechaba from my extra deck. We then go ahead and put Invocation back into the main deck to add S.I.D the Invoker back to our hand, guaranteeing that we have a monster negate. Now we activate Nadir's Servant. This card is very busted because it says we can send, what is it? Shaddoll at per loco from our extra deck to the graveyard, and then we get to go ahead and trigger its effect after we go ahead and add the S.I.D from our deck to our hand, and then we go ahead and get to use App Cologne, which will go ahead and add us a Shaddoll Schism from our deck to our hand. So, we go ahead and then discard a Shaddoll Hedgehog for App Cologne's effect, which will go ahead and allow us to add a Wendy from our deck to our hand as well. So we didn't just get Schism, but we also got to add a Shaddoll card from our deck to our hand, send Hedgehog, and add another Shaddoll card deck from our deck to our hand. Now we go ahead and special summon the S.I.D, which is going to go ahead and allow us to search a Dogmatika Florist Knighted. This is probably one of the best Dogmatika monsters in the deck, just for the fact that it's a free summon, it's a big beater, it makes all the other Dogmatikas bigger, and it's an effect veil. What more could you ask for? Now we're in the end phase, he is thinking, and I kind of say make me negate your Nibiru, but he activates an infinite impermanence in the end phase, which was kind of interesting to me. So he goes ahead and imperms the Mechaba, and he goes ahead and actually summons the Gizmek. So that was actually kind of an interesting play from him, because he chose to go ahead and use his infinite impermanence to negate my Mechaba, so he could guarantee that he could summon the Gizmek. Which kind of makes sense, because also he could banish 3 cards from his extra deck to then go ahead and allow him to destroy my card on my turn if I have to negate something else. So it is his turn now. He's going to go ahead and shuffle his hand up, and he goes ahead and activates Abomination's Prison, the search spell for Unchained, with a different name of Unchained, just like Nadir's Servant has a different name, Abomination Prison has a different name. Makes sense, am I right? So he goes ahead and searches out his, I believe it was Adhara, and then he goes ahead and uses Adhara effect to target his set card. I go ahead and change Shaddoll Schism, banishing 2 Shaddolls from the graveyard to special summon a Shaddoll Winder. Now we go ahead and use Schism's other effect to send the Gizmek to the graveyard, because Schism is just such an insane card, being that you can send any monster with the same type as the monster you summoned to the graveyard. It's just a really insane card, guys, like really. And then he goes ahead and sends his Abomination's Prison to the graveyard and summons his Unchained Adhara from the hand. And I believe we'll see if he's got anything else. He goes ahead and sets one. Goes into the standby phase. Goes into the main phase. Does he have anything else? And we activate our Shaddoll Fusion, sending Shaddoll Winder to the graveyard and sending Escalea to the graveyard to summon our Shaddoll Construct from the extra deck. Now we'll go ahead and send a Shaddoll to the graveyard and also use Winder to add the Shaddoll Fusion back, just to regain resources, of course. And then we go ahead and send the Schemata, which Schemata will send the Wendy, and then the Wendy is going to summon a Shaddoll Dragon from the deck. So we go ahead and go do that. And then we summon the Alistair the Invoker from our hand, and this is where he decides to surrender. Now, obviously, in that game, if he did not surrender there, then I could have potentially just OTK'd him nonetheless, because all I really have to do is make the damage on board, and with the Schism on the board, I can literally just banish a Shaddoll from the graveyard and special summon another construct from the extra deck, send the Alistair to the graveyard with an invocation to go ahead and make another Mechaba to guarantee that I would have more than enough damage to guarantee game there, because we can also just discard the Alistair or another monster in our hand to negate the Adhara from being able to special summon. So, going into siding here, we go ahead and side all of our good cards, obviously, go ahead and talk. And then we go into game 2, where I go second. I obviously lost game 1, I won game 1, so my opponent chooses if I go first or second. So we draw our 5 cards, and we'll see what our opponent has for us. So, goes into draw phase, standby main, uses Adhara's effect, which is going to go ahead and destroy an Abomination Chamber. So, what this card will allow him to do is to special summon an Unchained card from his deck to the field, but I had the Ash Blossom, but nonetheless he had the Samsara, the Sarama, which would allow him to just destroy his, which would just allow him to reset the Unchained chamber, and just go ahead and destroy the Adhara anyway, to gain a free summon from the deck. So he's basically setting up his board very well. But obviously I did try to stop that from going off because of it with the Ash Blossom. Now he goes ahead and summons an Unchained Rakia from his deck, and he goes ahead and sets 2 and passes. Now we go standby, we go main, and then we go into the battle phase. Alright. And then we go, I say, please don't hate me. End of main. I'm sorry. And we just go ahead and activate Evenly Matched. Now, here's something, if I remember correctly, was very interesting. Yes, he activated Unchained Escape, where he targeted both of his own Unchained monsters, which was very interesting, because it means that he destroys his 2 Unchained monsters and gets to trigger their effects. So what he does here, he goes sends both of those to the graveyard, banishes the two other cards on the board, so the Unchained Escape and the Unchained Abomination, Chamber of the Unchained. And then I go ahead and go into my turn, into my main phase 2, and we just start to play the board as best we can. After, obviously, he goes ahead and uses his Sarama and his Rakia, which I completely forgot about. So he goes ahead and puts an Aruha and a Rakia on the board. Okay, so from here, we go ahead and activate an Invocation, which would allow us to go ahead and get an Alistair from our main deck. So we go ahead and grab the Alistair, and what's next? What next? We go ahead and normal summon the Alistair. Okay, so we definitely going to do that. Adding an Invocation from our main deck to our hand, we go ahead, I believe then we would go ahead and use the Alistair to go into an Almirage, and then the Almirage into a Secure Gardener, just as, like, this is the reason why you play these cards. They just guarantee an instant Mechaba with 1 Alistair, which is really nice. And it's literally just a 1-card engine that doesn't negate it. It pluses you 1 in the end. Like, it's so good. Using the Invocation effect, putting the Alistair back in the hand. And then we go ahead and activate Nadir's Servant again. So we'll go ahead and send a Shaddoll Apkalone from the extra deck to the graveyard, which is going to add us another Escalia. I really can't pronounce that name properly, can I? To the hand, and then we add a Schism from our deck to our hand, and then we also go ahead and discard a Hedgehog. And we go ahead and trigger the Hedgehog's effects, which will go ahead and allow us to add a Wendy to hand. Now we go ahead and obviously send the Nadir's Servant to the grave. We go ahead and use Foolish Burial. Yes, this was a new tech that I am working on in the deck, because I feel like it'll be a lot better and give us more consistency in the deck. So that's why we are playing that card right now in this build. So we go ahead and send a Wendy to the graveyard. Then we trigger the Wendy, setting a Shaddoll Hedgehog from our deck, just so we can go ahead and have that additional resource to add a Shaddoll spell or trap from our deck to the hand when it is flip summoned. Oh, but he does have a think on the Wendy, so he might have a response, so I did put the Shaddoll Hedgehog back. But it was fine, so we just reset the Shaddoll Hedgehog. So, we continue, we go ahead and special summon out the Virtuous, I'm just going to call her that now, the Priestess, like I would normally just call her Priestess. So we go ahead and special summon Priestess, and we're going to go ahead and, it's not an inherent summon, he's asking the questions. So he's going to go ahead and chain the Trap Trick for its reveal in hand, because it is an effect summon to summon this card from the hand, so he can go ahead and activate the Trap Trick. So he goes ahead and banishes a punishment and sets a punishment. which is probably for the best because it can get rid of essentially 2 monsters just by sending an Unts to the graveyard, and this deck doesn't really rely too much on its extra deck. So, he is going to go... He wanted to go ahead and set TT, but he didn't have it. So, we go ahead and continue playing. He's going to go ahead and use Rakia to go ahead and kill Adhara from the looks of it. But we go ahead and add a Maximus from our deck to our hand. Oh, he's already used Rakia, he's saying. He didn't use it. No, he didn't use it, did he? He completely forgot he did not use Rakia. Huh? But then we're going to go ahead and summon the Maximus, send, not using effect. Because he has the punishment, I did play around the fact that if I send 2 Unts, I could just lose a lot of resources, so I chose not to do it. I should have probably added Knight to the hand, because this, if I remember correctly, that was a misplay that I made. So he's going to go ahead and use the punishment in hand, which is going to go ahead and he targets Virtuous. Okay, so what's he sending to the graveyard? He's sending Unts to the graveyard. Now, that was a mistake, in my opinion. He should have really sent, targeted the Mechaba, but even if he did target the Mechaba, I could have just discarded Alistair, so maybe that was his line of process behind there. By that, because if I did choose to negate it with the to boost the Mechaba, then he would just not get the send anyway, and it would have been a waste of resource. So he did actually get rid of it the right way, now that I think about it. So, we continue. He goes ahead and uses the Rakia in the end phase, and he kills Adhara. And he's going to go ahead... What's he going to go ahead and summon? So, he's shuffling his deck. What's going to summon? Now, remember, he is locked out of the extra deck, so... What could he do? So he goes ahead and summons an Abominable Unchained Soul. So this is one of the newer cards from the deck, of course, but it has... Well, newer... It's one of the newest Unchained cards from the deck, being that it's just a really good card that can summon itself out free. He activates an Abomination's Prison, which I am fine with, and he adds an Escape of Unchained from the deck to the hand. So we can just continue going from here. He goes ahead and switches the Rakia to attack mode. He sets the Unchained, the Escape of the Unchained, and he goes and end of main phase. When he attempts to devour phase, I activate Schism. Now the reason we do this is because we're going to go ahead and send the Unchained Souls to the graveyard. So we go ahead and summon the Winder, and then we're going to go ahead and send the Unchained Souls to the graveyard. And he said think here, but Schism is actually an on-resolution effect, so you would have to negate it on the activation of the effect. So he cannot do that, and I get to go ahead and send the Unchained Souls to the graveyard. We do have a bit of a talk, though, about why he, even if he did do that, and he just, on the activation, he chose to use Rakia effect to pop the Unchained Souls. I could just use Mechaba to discard the Alistair in my hand, to go ahead and banish the Rakia, and then send the card to the graveyard anyway, so it didn't really matter. So going from here, I believe he just he admitted I win here. Yeah, it's literally just GG from this point on, and he can't do anything. But guys, that was the match. It was a really fun match in general. I really did enjoy playing this match with him. It was a great game, and I really did like it. Just being able to play a deck like this that has so many different resources, so many different routes of play, and obviously even its linear route to play where you literally just go at Mechaba turn 1, or you can go Shaddoll Winder on your opponent's turn with just opening their deer. It's all really good, and I really do enjoy playing this deck. But guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a really cool duel video to watch. Sure, I won this match, and I do show a lot of wins on this channel, but I do also sometimes show losses. It's just like I don't test a lot on dueling books, so whenever I do test and there's a really good replay, I like to show that off. If I lose more, I'll give a good losing replay. Like on stream, I've lost plenty of times, but that's been the match. But guys, thanks so much for watching. This was a really fun match to watch again and just go through and think about, and just show you guys some plays of the deck. I hope you really enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Robot1 signing out. Later all. I really do enjoy this deck. I'm not even joking. Bye.